Hey Pepper Geeks! Today we're gonna make spicy gummy bears. So this recipe is very versatile. If you don't want to make the gummy bears spicy, you can just leave the hot peppers out of the recipe. It's very simple. You can get creative with any kind of Jell-O that you want and any kind of hot pepper. Today we're going to use habanero peppers, but you can use ghost peppers if you want. You can make this with Carolina Reapers if you want a really spicy gummy bear. These are some gummy bears I made the other day. They are strawberry lime habanero gummy bears. They taste pretty much like a strawberry gummy bear, but with a little bit of a kick to them. To make the spicy gummy bears, all you're gonna need is 1 pack of Jell-O, 1 box of Jell-O, 3 ounces. You're gonna need 1 packet of Knox gelatin. 1 box usually comes with 4 packets. All you're gonna need is the 1 packet. You're gonna need a tablespoon of lime juice. You can also use lemon. 3 to 4 habaneros or whatever spicy pepper you're using, chopped and seeded. You're gonna need 1/2 cup of cold water, 1/4 cup of honey. You can also use corn syrup, it works very well. You don't wanna use regular sugar or else the gummy bears are gonna come out too crystallized. So the first thing that we're going to do is essentially make a hot pepper juice. You're gonna need a fine mesh strainer for this. And what you're gonna do is blend up your habaneros with the 1/2 cup of cold water to make a hot pepper juice. So the chopped peppers are gonna go right in the blender. And then you're gonna add 1/2 cup of cold water. Definitely make sure it's cold. If you're sensitive to spice or if you're using really, really hot peppers, now's probably a good time to wear a mask or goggles. That's good. So you're gonna blend those peppers up with the water as much as you can. There's still gonna be chunks in there, that's fine. We're using our strainer. Whatever pot that you're using, the hot pepper water is gonna go right in. But first, you're gonna wanna take your Jell-O. So we have 1 box of lime Jell-O. And your 1 packet of gelatin right in there. Give it a little stir so that it's, the powders are mixed together good. Now all of your liquid ingredients are gonna go in. So careful opening this because if you're using really hot peppers, you're gonna kind of get a big whiff of spice there. Good time to wear a mask or goggles, like I said, but I'm just gonna wing it today. You're gonna use your fine mesh strainer here and just real gently pour that hot pepper juice in. You're straining out all the pepper chunks. All right. So you're gonna have about 1/2 cup, maybe a little bit less in here with that. All right, just gonna give it a real gentle stir. And you're gonna add your lime juice. The lime juice adds a nice little kick. It also serves as to preserve them a little bit. And you're gonna add your 1/4 cup of honey or corn syrup, whichever you're using. You want to stir very gently. Try not to make too many air bubbles, and don't use a whisk because the air bubbles are going to carry over into the gummy bears. So you want to just be as gentle as possible. After stirring it, you're going to actually leave this to sit for about 5 minutes. You want the gelatin to bloom. So we're going to leave that to sit for 5 minutes before we heat it. All right, so now the Jell-O has been sitting for about 5 minutes. You'll notice it's a little more transparent now. We're gonna pop it on the heat, on medium heat. We're gonna do about 3 minutes. You don't want the Jell-O to boil. You don't want those air bubbles in. Real gentle with the stirring. We're gonna throw it on the heat now. All right, so we heated up our mixture over medium heat, stirred it really well, and we're gonna let this cool for about 5 to 10 minutes before putting them into the molds. So these gummy bear molds we got off of Amazon. They're silicone molds. You can get them at a craft store. Amazon's a good choice though. Some people do recommend that you spray them with cooking spray before making the candy, but I would not recommend doing that. I did experiment with using cooking spray and without using cooking spray. The ones that were sprayed ended up very greasy and kind of gross, so I had no issue getting these guys out of the molds without cooking spray. So we're gonna skip that step. All right, so just let this sit for 5 to 10 minutes. You want the air bubbles to rise to the top and you want it to get a little bit more clear and transparent colored. All right, so our gelatin candy syrup mixture has been sitting for 5 minutes. It's nice and clear. It's a little bit dark. And now we get to fill the gummy bear molds. So this kit came with a little dropper. Most of them do. You're gonna just fill up the dropper. You want to be careful not to tilt it because it'll just come dripping out like that. So just fill it and leave it down. And if you notice air bubbles coming up, squirt it out and then just fill it up again. So get your dropper nice and full. And the fun part, filling the molds one by one. All right, so these gummy bears have been completely filled. We do have some bubbly bears, some air bubbles got in there, but that's okay. They will still taste good. So these guys are gonna sit out for 10 minutes at room temp before putting them into the fridge for an hour. The pipette, as well as your pans and dishes, whatever you use to make this recipe, you're gonna wanna clean this stuff right away because the gelatin hardens up. It'll be impossible to clean. All right, guys, the gummy bears have been chilling in the fridge for 1 hour, and now we are ready to pop them out. They are still really, really sticky, but that's normal. And these molds, you know, you really just have to flip them inside out, and the gummy bears will pop right out. You don't need to use cooking oil. Just pop them out one by one, and you're gonna lay them flat on a cutting board. So here's the thing. These gummy bears are all set and ready to eat right now. However, if you want them to be chewy like a true gummy bear, you're actually gonna let these guys dehydrate a bit. So for 48 hours, we're gonna leave these guys to dehydrate. You do not want to put these in a dehydrator because the heat will melt them and make a huge mess. So I popped out about half of the gummy bears. The rest are still in the molds, but these guys have to sit out for 24, 48 hours. 48 hours will really give you a good, firm gummy bear texture. You can kind of see the difference between the fresh gummy bears and the ones that have already dehydrated. The fresh gummy bears are bigger, they're a lot softer. The ones that have dehydrated, they shrink and they're actually firmer, more like a traditional gummy bear. One really good way to dehydrate them is just to get a strainer and pop it right on top so that air is still getting through, and just leave them out for 24 hours, and then you can flip them so they're standing and do it again for a day. And you'll notice as you munch on them throughout the days that they're getting a little bit firmer and firmer. All right, so let's taste one of these habanero lime gummies. The lime I like much better than the strawberry habanero, actually. It's a much better flavor. Feel free to experiment with the flavors and the peppers. If you try this recipe at home, leave a comment. Let us know what flavors you used. We'd love to try some new combinations. And these guys are still really soft. I'm gonna leave them out for a couple of days, let them harden up. When they get to the desired consistency that you like, throw them in a Ziploc bag or a little container, keep them in the fridge, try to eat them within a couple of weeks if they last that long. So that's all there is to it. Homemade spicy gummy bears. Be sure to go over to the peppergeek.com blog if you want to see this recipe, and give us a like and subscribe. That's all. See you next time.